Hey now, ladies and gentlemen. Hey now, hey now, hey now. Hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now. Hey now, hey now. Our number 3 of the line, Talk 99.5. Talk995.com, Andrew McLean, who.com, and Real Talk 99.5 TV. Adjusting my camera here, make sure I look my best. Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, that looks good. That looks good. I know my wife might be watching, so I gotta be on my P's and Q's. And make sure I'm looking fly. Looking fly. If you want to get in, you know the number 205-545-9950. So the SPLC, man, busted. Straight up busted, bro. Not good. Not good. This is crazy. I mean, the literally, instead of dismantling these groups, it was instead manufacturing the extremism it purports to oppose by paying sources to stoke radical hatred that they would then turn around and try to tie back to their political opponents. Kash Patel says they used the fraudulently raised money by lying to their donor network, thousands of Americans, to go ahead and actually pay the leadership of these supposed violent extremist groups. I would just like to see just maybe a handful of people, and I'm talking average Democrat voters that really believed in what the SPLC was doing, that donated to them only to find this out. that their money went to these groups. He said, furthermore, our investigation revealed that the Southern Poverty Law Center, on top of perpetrating perpetuating this widespread, decade-long, multi-million-dollar fraud, conducted more criminal activity. And maybe this ain't even the end of it. Maybe it goes even further. You got to think, by the way, and there's even more stuff that these guys could be charged with. Last May, the SPLC labeled TPUSA a hate group and basically put a target on Charlie Kirk's back. And then a few months later, what happened? A furry-loving leftist murdered Charlie Kirk in Utah. Just months after the Southern Poverty Law Center labeled TPUSA a hate group. Imagine that. They labeled them a hate group. So at the end of the day, their actions have actually cost lives. Think about the lady that was killed in Charlottesville. The Unite the Right rally, that got that whole thing fired up and somebody lost their life. So maybe it'd be worth him, mulling some murder charges. Who knows? I mean, it's just. And if you go back and listen to what some of these individuals from the SPLC would say, I mean, the Democrats in their mainstream media PR wing would launder the SPLC's propaganda as news. Back in 2022, and I've got this audio for you. Back in 2022, there was a CBS News segment where they had the SPLC director, Susan Cork, having her say that violent extremism in MAGA is one of the biggest existential threats that is facing our democracy. And you see, they're like, literally all of this ties in together. There's a mission that they're conducting. It was about building up these groups and then tying them back to the entire MAGA movement. Listen to this clip. Again, this is from 2022 on CBS with the Southern Poverty Law Center director, Susan Cork. Yeah, they got the power of the president to help them out, man. Southern Poverty Law Center, everybody believes them. It's almost as if they're accusing you of doing the exact thing that they're doing. Where have we heard that before? It's the Democrat way. Whatever they accuse you of, they are in fact guilty of themselves. Tom's in Pale City. Tom, what's up?
Hell, shit, Alabama, man. Don't forget it either. So what you're telling me, this group is paying to cause the country into being divisive against each other.
That is correct.
They created this chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So I guarantee you, number one, follow the money, cuz. Who you think's behind them?
Yeah.
George Soros.
Yeah, there is, and I don't
guarantee you.
Well, yeah, you can guarantee yourself that George Soros has given money to the Southern Poverty Law Center probably multiple times over the years.
They created Black Lives Matter. They created all these other libtards that are wanting to divide the country. All these purple-haired, these furries, and all these other freaks. They created it. So I hope they get it in there, you know what, with the ish and everything. Praying for John Baird. It's good seeing y'all Friday night. Enjoyed that card trick, brother.
You like that? I'm going to be working on that, by the way. I'm working on more.
All right, man. My wife had one, too, she was wanting to show you, but that'll be another time. Anyway, just want to pray for John Baird, and we're getting our oil change done tomorrow. I'm glad Richard the Cop said that. That was awesome.
There you go. Get her done.
Yeah, man.
All right,
When they're done, dude, got to save as much money as we can, man, because her oil change runs me about $80.
Yeah, that's about what mine is, too. It's not cheap.
Yeah, man.
All right, bub.
Yeah. All right, Kevin.
See ya.
Later.
Yeah, that's. I mean, what Tom said there at the beginning is right. It was about dividing people, and playing, which is an age-old tactic, playing both sides of the battle, both sides of both sides of the field. You find one side, and then you say, "Well, I'm over here fighting these people," and then next thing you know, you can't lose. If you're on both sides of the war, you can't lose. You can come out a winner. But it's dangerous. It's dangerous. It created this narrative that, because remember in 2017 when Charlottesville happened, that was very early in the first Trump administration. He didn't take office until January 20th of 2017. And it was kind of the first thing that got things rolling. It was like, here we are. This is the Trump administration. What's going to happen to set the tone for this term? And for the Democrats, it was Charlottesville. And it was like, obviously, this is a white supremacist movement with MAGA. Donald Trump's obviously a racist. He's supporting these people. And it turns out the left was funding them. Literally. We always speculated to unite the right. What was the other one? Like Patriot Front. It was this group of guys that would come out there in matching shirts and pants. They'd be wearing polo shirts with khakis, and they would always have their faces covered up. And we were like, what? Why do these people always have their faces covered up? Well, it's probably because it was a bunch of liberals from some sort of theater class that they had out there marching with a snare drum talking about unite the right and get these immigrants out of our country. It was all a big show. It was all fake. Just like we suspected. Bubba Rumble up next. What's up, Bubba?
Hey, now.
Hey, now.
All right, so props are in order for the Middle District of Alabama for doing the legwork and putting together the indictment against the SPLC, one of the most corrupt NGO, politically affiliated organizations this country's ever seen.
Yes, very good job.
Now, y'all get ready for the cries of racism, because they're not just going to play the race card against the Middle District. They're going to play the whole deck and the joker of race cards against them now, if they're not already.
Yeah, it'll be about Alabama and a Trump appointee and everything else.
The racist South strikes again, man.
Right.
So anyway, I'm not surprised by any of this. I don't think anybody should be. But in that same time frame, there were two other very powerful narratives being created and then rode into the ground and whipped like a three-legged horse, and that would be the Jussie Smollett hoax and the fake news Bubba Wallace Talladega hoax. And I don't have any even anecdotal evidence to offer to support my belief that would it surprise you if the SPLC was behind those two false flag events as well?
It would not. It wouldn't. I mean, on its face, it seems like both Bubba and Jussie were just both narcissists, and that they thought that much of themselves that they thought they could pull something like that off. But at the same time, as we've been talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene and some of these other people and how they could switch their opinions so easily, and it would make sense if there was money involved. You could have the same thing going on here where it's like they were approached and they're like, hey, do you think you could find a situation that could cause this big backlash in the community? And, who knows? They say with Jussie Smollett that he was trying to advance his career and make himself a victim, but who knows? I mean, people do some crazy things for money.
And they're both so similar, and they both revolved around one of the biggest symbols they use about white racism, and that's the noose from back in the day. But I would guarantee you there was more people hung out west here for horse rustling and cattle thieving than probably anybody else was. But, the noose can only represent what they want it to, and it was prominent in both of those stories.
Yeah, and I mean, if it came out in these court proceedings that they were involved in individual situations like that, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Because those are you got to think those are very high profile people, and especially with the Bubba Wallace deal, being in NASCAR, which a lot of people usually associate the NASCAR crowd with conservatives or MAGA or whatever. That would be an ideal situation for them to say, hey, let's go after that crowd, because that's a whole lot of people we can paint a certain way and use it to advance our narrative.
Yeah, and Bubba Wallace only came into NASCAR because of their Drive for Diversity program. Most guys, you got to race your way into NASCAR. You got to really earn your spot there, and he's a DEI hire.
Well, what sucks is he's a Tennessee guy too, and I hate that because it makes me want to cheer for him, but I can't apparently because he is
makes it impossible. And isn't it weird? Isn't it weird? Within a few races, all of a sudden he won one.
Yeah.
After that happened, it's like I know a narrative when I see one, but anyway, I'm not surprised about any of this, and I bet you if they really wanted to start digging all the way back through the history of the SPLC, there's probably a lot of things they could have uncovered like this, but they've all just had this veil of protection around them since the day that organization was founded. But it's glad to see some cracks in the dam finally.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of the issues in this country really come from some of these organizations, whether it's non-governmental organizations or whatever, that have really artificially, pumped in societal strife that would not have been there had we all just continued living our lives. And I hope this is the beginning of more dominoes to fall when it comes to organizations such as this. Like Act Blue, for instance. Act Blue is going to be that one's got to go down big time. That's another one that causes big problems in this country.
Yeah, and that's what they were created for, was to just cause disruption and create score political points for the Democrats. And if anybody, I'm waiting to hear their take on it. I can't wait to hear what Al Sharpton has to say about this.
Oh yeah, he'll be all over it.
It's going to be a doozy.
All right, man.
Cuz I'm out. Hey
now. There's Bubba Rumble out in Arizona. 205-545-9950. When I get back, I want to explain, and I saw this from somebody on X, how the bigger picture of this not only just ties into societal strife and pitting people against each other and neighbor against neighbor and whatever, but it's much bigger than that, and it even bleeds into the military. I'll give you that and much more when we get back. All right, so let's tie some things together. Just bear with me for a second. And then I'll get back to the phones. 205-545-9950. First, consider this tweet I saw. It's from a guy named Data Republican. He highlights the importance of turning a nation's security forces as the essential component of a color revolution, right? Like if you're going to completely take over in the situation of Iran, as we see, the people with the guns can ultimately make the rules, make the decisions, right? Because especially in this country where we have the Second Amendment that is meant to not only protect your family, but protect yourself from a tyrannical government, the importance of taking over a country such as this would certainly, at minimum, require the taking over of the military, right? Then consider this recent revelation that the SPLC was funding the marginalized white supremacist groups it claims to oppose. I've often said when it comes to these people, it's minuscule these days, and these people in recent years, up until the intervention of the Southern Poverty Law Center, these people would kind of live under a rock. They weren't out in society. They weren't parading themselves and making themselves known by everybody like, hey, here we are. Society has moved in a direction where the vast majority of us don't find that kind of behavior or even that kind of language acceptable. Like, we're just not cool with it. So these people live under a rock. Well, that was a problem for the Southern Poverty Law Center. They needed these people to be more active, to get some TV time, to get some camera time. Thus, the funding comes in. They end up funding these groups they claim to oppose, both as a means of fundraising from their own donors and to create a false image of a large-scale white supremacy threat in this country. They wanted it to seem much bigger than it actually was. If the percentage of society that's involved in these real hate groups is 0.0000001%, they want it to seem more like a 5%, right? Then consider the words of former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, speaking before Congress in 2021. He said, "It is important that we train and we understand, and I want to understand white rage and I'm white." Connect those dots. Whether by deliberate conspiracy or as an unspoken conspiracy between fellow travelers, the SPLC is at the heart of a plot to overthrow the American experiment. That is exactly what the left ultimately wants. And guess what? They almost got it. All right, let's keep rolling. 205-545-9950. Up next is Clarissa. Clarissa, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Hey, I just wanted to say that I have waited for this day for the Southern Poverty Law Center to go down. This month marks 20 years that they've had me on their website as a hate watch Alabama activist. If you recall, my sister-in-law was killed by a repeat offender, illegal alien.
Yeah.
I made the rounds with Tea Party rallies, Dr. Gina show. I was on her show as a guest speaker one day, and just going out and talking about how nobody should be in America illegally. This was just a couple of years after 9/11 that she was killed, and I couldn't find any reason that anybody should be in the country unaccounted for. And so I was going out making the rounds, and I had made the comment that all illegals, should be deported, and we should have a system to come in the right way and everybody be accounted for. So it wasn't that I was trying to be, years ahead of the curve or run for office or anything like that. This was a story that had impacted my heritage because I am, my dad is Mexican, and then also it was leaving a stain on our culture. And also, I didn't want anybody else to have to get a phone call on a Saturday morning at 7 o'clock, that one of the family members had been deceased. So anyway, I just wanted to call in and say yay, because I have waited for this day for 20 years.
Well, let me ask you. So they had you individually pinned on their website as what?
There used to be a link on there that said hate watch. And so I was listed as an Alabama activist. The story that AL.com ran is now been taken down. I don't know why. It didn't have anything to do with me. So the link to the article is not on there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But excuse me, I'm still listed. My full name is still listed as Hate Watch as Alabama activist on the Southern Poverty Law Center website. I have it pulled up right now.
Wow. Can you text that link to the text line? I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I can. That's no problem.
Because I'm looking at their website as well.
Anybody would accuse me of being racist when, especially against my own culture, it's asinine. And if you could even use the word journalism, in the same sentence as Southern Poverty Law Center, which I don't think you can, I have been screaming from the rooftops for 20 years that this organization needed to go down.
Man, anybody that's propped this organization up or even donated to this organization should be ashamed of themselves today. They really should.
Well, what goes around comes around, and here we are.
Yep, that's it. All right, Clarissa, I appreciate it.
Thanks.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I guess I probably needed to check to make sure I wasn't on the website. That's it. I'm looking at their website now. A beacon of hope for 55 years. The Southern Poverty Law Center stands as a beacon of hope, fighting white supremacy and various forms of injustice to help create a multiracial democracy where we can all live and thrive. Today calls for us to maintain our resolve in the face of another fight for justice. And there's that big fat donate button. The power of your support. Your support powers our work to confront hate, stand up to injustice, and defend our civil and human rights. From the courtroom to the classroom to communities across the country, you can help create a more just and inclusive future for all. Oh, man. The audacity of these guys to still have their donate button up. That's crazy. That's crazy. Tony's on the line. Tony, how are you?
Hey, Andrew. Hey, now. How you doing?
Hey, now. Is this Tony from Work Release?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Tony, what's up?
Nothing. I wanted to. I was listening to you and John Bird the other day, and I wanted to call in, but it wasn't appropriate at the time. I have really something that I think y'all laugh about, and I wanted to lift John Bird's spirits. There's so much I could say about everything else that's going on, but these people, like the Democrats, all the things that they purport that they want to do, ain't nobody talking lately about taking our guns, but, the ones that want to do stuff like that, why don't they be the first ones to put a sign in their front yard that says gun-free home?
Yeah,
That'd be great. That'd be great.
They really should.
I know it. So I have a friend in here, and I asked her, could I use her name and tell this story, and she said yes. So my friend in here, her name is Tillery, and her father is an elderly man, and he's raising her 2 teenage children, an 18-year-old autistic son and a 19-year-old daughter. Well, she called home the other day, and she could hear her son just laughing. I mean, he was cutting up laughing in the next room, and she asked him, said, Daddy, go in the next room and see what he's laughing at. Went in there, and he was on the computer, and he was watching Joe Biden videos, laughing his butt off.
Nah, that's hilarious.
And he also talked to her. She told him that when she came home from prison that she was going to get a cake made at the bakery and let the children, have written and the icing on top of the cake whatever they wanted written. So her autistic son said that he wanted to write on her cake, "Welcome to Epstein Island."
Oh, my God. Good Lord.
And he told her that she didn't have to worry about it, that none of them were on the list, that he looked up the whole list, and neither her nor her dad nor him or his sister were on the list, so they were good to go.
That's good. Yes, good. That's a breath of fresh air right there. That's funny.
And I just want to say I love your show, and I'm listening to you. I haven't called in a while, but I love listening to you, and just because I don't call in don't mean I'm not listening, because I'm hanging on every word.
I got you. Well, listen, we appreciate you, Tony. We think about you all the time, and we appreciate all you guys supporting us and hanging out with us every day.
Well, there's a lot of us in here that want to do right and want a different life, but the majority of people in here, when we start talking about, hey, we're pro-Trump and we love this and love that, they're looking at us like we're crazy. They start talking about, well, what has he done for us? Well, if they want to get technical, green money goes across all divides, and that stimulus check had Donald Trump's name on it. So, and they're so ignorant they don't know whose name was on it. No, they want to argue about it. So,
yeah,
you can't argue with ignorance. So,
that's true. That's 100% true. Well, listen, keep in touch with us, and we'll hopefully we'll get to talk to you soon. Okay.
Okay, I wanted to ask you this before I go.
Okay.
I didn't want to let it slip my mind. I wanted to be the soundboard for the ladies here that wanted to contact you, and we have a thing called CorrLinks, CorrLinks, and it's free to set up on your end, and I can send you text messages from my tablet at my charge. Like, I pay for it; it's prepaid on my end, and I would love to get on that text line if you would just set that up at CorrLinks.com.
CorrLinks. So how does that work? CorrLinks.com. To get it to where it comes to, what do I have to register, like the text line number for it to go through that or something?
I think you just use my AIS number and you set yourself up as a contact, and then it shows up on my end, and then I will initiate the first email.
Ah, I see what you're saying. So tell me what the website was again.
CorrLinks, and it's spelled CorrLinks.
LINKS. All right, yeah, I'll look at that and see if we can set up the text line to that and get it hammered out.
There's a lot of the girls here. They come to me and they talk to me about stuff, concerning your radio show and what you're talking about during the day. And I think it would be really neat to just have one of us here, set up a little station, like what I imagine a station, so we can come together and we can text you when we want to.
There you go. I like it. I like the sound of that.
All right, then. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you later. Hey, now.
Hey, now. Appreciate you, Tony. That's a good friend, Tony, from Work Release. Tony and Libby and all of our ladies over there. We're big in the prisons, by the way, in case anybody's wondering. The prisons love us. Yeah, I'm looking at CorrLinks.com now. And it says, gives you the ability to stay in touch with your incarcerated loved one. It says create account or block a contact. If you get in here, I want to block a contact. Yeah, let me work on that. I'll see if I can figure something out. Dave is in Woodstock. Dave, what's up, bub?
Not much. I remember when Russ Fine was on the radio, he used to refer to them as Southern Preposterous Lies Center, SPLC.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But, yeah, I had an aunt that had 2 daughters that inherited some property up in Maryland and sold it, become instant millionaires, and they come down to visit. And I could tell they were very liberal, and they were showing my mom a copy of the SPLC newsletter, and I got to looking at it, and I seen a gun club that a friend of mine belonged to as one of the local hate groups, and I was kind of laughing at that. And they said, "What's so funny?" I said, this newsletter says, you don't believe all this stuff? I says, I know some of these people. No, I do not believe this stuff. And anyway, they had stopped for the night to, see my mom and on their way to New Orleans. And when they left, she said, I'm so glad they're gone.
Yeah. That's
But,
it's crazy. I wish I would have done hopefully Clarissa will send us that link. I want to go through the list of all the different groups and people that are listed on their website if it's still up.
Well, like I said, they throw a bunch of stuff up there trying to solicit donations from especially people up in the Northeast that don't know any better.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they're going down. At least I hope so.
Yeah, let's hope that this will be the end of the road for them, because that is it's pretty crazy, pretty crazy how this is all playing out. And again, like you said, you're talking about Russ. A lot of people speculated that this was. I was watching a video of Alex Jones earlier saying the same thing, that the SPLC was doing this exact thing, that they were funding these groups. And here it is. Thank goodness. And thank goodness it's under Trump's administration, because there's not another president that would have dared try to even go after the SPLC.
Right. All right, Andrew. Well, keep it up.
All right,
and
buddy.
We'll be listening.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate your calls. 205-545-9950. Okay, so I see the thing Clarissa sent me. See if it lets me read the full. That's right. She said AL.com pulled the article down. It's the headline says Alabama activist demands, quote, all of them be deported. I'm legal. Are you? Reads the bumper sticker on Clarissa's blue Ford Taurus. That's a pretty good bumper sticker. I ain't gonna lie. Unfortunately, the article's no longer there, so you can't read it. But I want to look through this. I want to look through their list of hate groups. Anyway, 205-545-9950. More of the Line coming up right after this. Chuck Davis Law bringing you this part of the show. ChuckDavisLaw.com. My personal attorney, looking to help you out, man, whatever it may be. If you got things going on like divorce or custody battles, you got personal injury deal, car wreck, slip and fall, wrongful death. You got paperwork issues like probate, contracts, real estate, wills. I know I've told y'all 100 times over about how important those wills are. Get those done, man. Those are important. Get the wills done. For you, your parents, your grandparents, make sure everybody in your family's got the wills done. I want to see that because chaos happens. When a loved one passes away and a will is not there to specify this, that, and the other goes to this person and that goes to that person, people start fighting, people start acting crazy, just like after divorce, man, or in the midst of divorce. Like, people act crazy, and you don't want all that chaos happening after you pass away. You want people to be able to celebrate your life and not fight over a piano or a car or whatever it is. So, call my man, my attorney, Chuck Davis, 205-823-9992. It's 205-823-9992. And online, ChuckDavisLaw.com. No representation is made that the legal services provided are superior to the legal services provided by other lawyers. So get that hooked up. Make sure you tell him I sent you. He's going to get you handled. Bubba says Clarissa is a awesome individual, fearless, informed, and a force to be reckoned with. That's right. That describes all of our audience. Well, not all of you. Some of you. Some of y'all are fearless. Speaking of fearless, James O'Keefe is a fearless individual. A very fearless individual. This guy, after leaving Project Veritas, starting OMG, O'Keefe Media Group, and continuing to do what he had done all along, is exposing some of the craziest stuff that I've seen, even considering what Project Veritas has done in the past. They've done a lot of amazing things, including exposing groups, as we were talking about, like Act Blue and the donor fraud that they've been committing and continue to commit today. Hopefully, by the way, that's being handled. I know there was some congressional testimony on Capitol Hill from Act Blue employees as of late. I'll get into that a little later in the show. But the latest piece from James O'Keefe, the O'Keefe Media Group, is, and this came out yesterday, it's undercover footage of a top nuclear chief leaking sensitive national security information to a complete stranger. And what happens here, as you know, and in the case of guys that work within the government and work around sensitive information, stuff that they don't even necessarily need like documents for, like this stuff's in their head and you have to entrust them that they won't go blurting it out to people and cause national security issues. All you have to do to some of these guys is put a pretty girl in front of them that acts like she's interested, and then they start spilling the beans because they're normally kind of nerdy, like, you know, they don't have a lot going for them outside of their job, right? It's the only impressive thing about them. So if you put a pretty girl in front of them that acts like she's interested, it is then on that particular guy to provide something interesting to this girl to keep her engaged. And being that your job is the only thing interesting about you, you then start to spill the beans about your job. The cool aspects of your job, like, you know, super top secret classified information. And this happens far more than people even know. And it is so dangerous. That's why Eric Swalwell, the serial rapist, hooking up with Fang Fang was such a big deal. Because he was on the Intelligence Committee or the Foreign Affairs Committee, whichever it was. And it's like, this guy knows some very important stuff, and he's over here banging a Chinese spy. That's not good. That's not good. A little pillow talk about classified information never helped anybody, except for the Chinese. Andrew Hug. This is the guy's name. He's a chief. He's the chief of Chemical Nuclear Security. Disclosed sensitive information to a date in a public restaurant. Not just disclosing classified information to this stranger, but doing it in a public place where anybody around him could have heard it. Hug told an O'Keefe Media Group undercover journalist that the U.S. still possesses nerve agents, and a U.S. Army chemist recently died from exposure. Now, we don't know if this is true, but it might be, and it's probably classified information. Andrew Hug also confirmed that Ukrainians have taken U.S. taxpayer money and used it to buy mansions. Yeah, Andrew, we know. We know, buddy. We've already figured that one out. At one point, Hug asked the OMG journalist, quote, "You're not a spy, right? Your eyes have mesmerized me so much, almost like you're an intelligence." And it's at that point she knew she had him hook, line, and sinker. He said, "The easiest way to get intelligence, send a pretty girl, talk to the guy. I have to resist your eyes." So as he's being set up to divulge classified information, he talks about people getting set up and giving up classified information. Amazing. You can't even make it up. Can't even make it up. Here's, this is per the O'Keefe Media Group. Andrew Hug, U.S. Chief of Chemical Nuclear Surety, not Asset Safety, Surety. Chemical Nuclear Surety was caught on hidden camera casually revealing sensitive information to a stranger in a public restaurant. Andrew Hug, Chief of Chemical Nuclear Surety, in charge of nuclear and chemical safety, was caught on hidden camera releasing information regarding the U.S. nuclear information. He claims the U.S. still possesses nerve agents and says a U.S. Army chemist recently died from exposure. He also acknowledges U.S. airstrikes have killed children in Iran, calling it collateral damage, and revealed to the journalist how nuclear launch decisions are made in real time. He described how the United States could assassinate Iran's next leader if he, quote, doesn't change, while admitting the U.S. has no plans to use nuclear weapons. Quote, "We're not going to nuke anybody." All of this was casually revealed to an undercover journalist in a restaurant. This raises serious questions about this official's judgment, security, and what's really happening behind closed doors. After this video was released, Hug was escorted out of the Pentagon yesterday and placed on administrative leave amid an investigation. I believe that an investigation such as this should probably result in jail time, even if he's just blowing smoke up this girl's ass. He still should be in trouble.